Hi y'all. Welcome to another episode of Wasted with Will. Oh my god, I just used mouthwash and then drank wine and that was like the worst decision I've ever made. Anyway, this is week 6 of Wasted with Will. 6, like we're off of one hand now, you guys. Which is pretty crazy to me. Thank you guys for sticking in. For all of you new people in the audience tonight, let me just give you a rundown of how it goes. This show is basically just a dumb and blatant ripoff of Drunk History. That's it. Thanks, Derek Waters. Please don't sue me. So basically all of your cast tonight, local New Orleans talent and sometimes beyond, they will be bringing you their very, very hammered interpretations of their favorite Shakespeare plays. And this week's theme is Till Death Do Us Part. Now that means that we're going to be talking about some of Shakespeare's most favorite themes, and that is love and marriage. But because it's Shakespeare, you know, sometimes things get a little fucked up. But love always wins in the end. No, I'm kidding. That's a lie. With Shakespeare, love either wins in the end or everybody fucking dies. And we're gonna see all of that tonight. Why don't we jump right into it? Why don't we jump right in with your first presenter? I'm very excited to have this person with us tonight because they are New Orleans' premier divine impersonator. So bringing you their very hammered interpretation of Much Ado About Nothing, Cece Dementhe.
Good evening. My name is Cece Dementhe and welcome to my episode of Wasted with Will. Tonight I will be telling you the story of the Shakespeare play Much Ado About Nothing, and I'm enjoying a delicious glass of cognac. It's the Bard, so we want to really live it up. Anyway, Much Ado About Nothing. There was much ado because they really didn't have anything to keep themselves entertained. Back in the day, and we're talking ancient history, I think this play takes place around 300 BC, where there are battles between these different city-states, and they were called the Sicilian Wars, and the story takes place in a Sicilian town called Messina, which was under Spanish rule, not Roman rule at the time. Anyway, people didn't have a lot to keep themselves entertained back then. No professional sports, like that's entertaining, or streaming services, or even radio. Yes, they had music and bands, but they were bored. So the real pop stars of the time were the warriors who were fighting these battles between the different city-states. And in this story, there's a group of warriors that are returning from triumphant from a battle. They didn't lose any of their team, so they're coming back home, and they're traveling through a town called Messina, where they're friends with the padrone of the town, Don Leonardo. So he's going to throw a big party because here's all the soldiers. Now, here are the soldiers that are coming back. You got Don Pedro. He's like the generalissimo. He's kind of in charge of everybody. And his right-hand guy, his best pal, men in war, Claudio. And there's another guy they hang out with all the time called Benedict. Now, Benedict is a real witty, he doesn't shut up. He's like the Trevor Noah of the group. And there's one more guy. There's a bunch of guys, but the main guys, the one more is Don Pedro's evil, illegitimate brother, Don John, who's always up to no good. So they head into town, and everyone in town is so excited. There's finally going to be something to do. They're going to have a party because these guys are coming back from war. Anyway, one of the maidens of the town, Beatrix, is already well acquainted with Benedict. In fact, every time they get together, the library is open. They are trading quips, in fact, to the point where many people in the town have noticed this, and it's like, hey, get a room, guys. We're tired of it. So, that's happening. So, but that's not the only romance that's going on. As soon as they pull into town, Claudio meets Leonato's daughter, and her name is Hero, and immediately, like within seconds, falls in love. But he's got kind of low self-esteem, so nothing could be straightforward in this situation. So he gets his pal, the general Don Pedro, to kind of he's gonna be the wingman. He goes and pretends like he's interested in Hero, and once she seems interested or not interested, he shoves her off onto Claudio. I'm not exactly sure how that works. It doesn't sound cool, but anyway, Claudio and Hero love at first sight and immediately decide to get married. So now the town is even in more of an uproar because big wedding the next day. And throughout all this, Benedict and Beatrix are just insulting each other left and right. So, in fact, to the point that the rest of the people in town have decided, hey, you know what would be fun? Let's trick them. We will set up a little situation where we make Benedict think that Beatrix really loves him, and we make Beatrix think that Benedict loves her, and we'll throw them together, and we'll be better than Cupid because finally we'll get these two together. So that's going on. Anyway, there's one person who's not having a big fun time. The evil illegitimate brother, Don John. And in the probably the most celebrated adaptation of this play is one, the Kenneth Branagh adaptation. Don John is played by Keanu Reeves, which is fun because Keanu isn't usually a bad guy, but in this he's a really bad guy. Don John can't stand that everybody is happy, so he's going to throw a monkey wrench into the works because you can't really appreciate comedy unless something horrible happens. So he gets together with his henchmen and decides, hey, this will be hilarious. We will get one of you guys to go make out with Hero's handmaiden, and we'll set it up so that Claudio sees it from behind and he thinks it's Hero, and then he'll be pissed and he'll call off the wedding. That will be so much fun. So anyway, they do it. And sure enough, Claudio is crushed. He's heartbroken. But he goes to the wedding just like nothing even happened. Delicious. And he gets to the altar, and there's beautiful Hero in her wedding dress. And right in front of everybody, he denounces her and tells everyone that she's a big hoe and he can't have anything to do with her because she was making out with a henchman. And it's horrible. In fact, I've watched several adaptations of this film, and that scene is always really hard for me to watch. So Hero passes out from shame, and Claudio runs off. It's a big old mess. Anyway, Shakespeare, in a lot of his plays, felt like he had to make a comment on the fact that the police force of the time was competent and corrupt and incompetent. Yeah, they were incompetent and corrupt. And so he portrayed them kind of in a Keystone Cop kind of a way. They were always bumbling and using bad information, such that there's a really famous head cop in this play, Dogberry, and even though he messed everything up, in spite of that, because of stuff he did, the plot that Don John was trying to pull off comes to light, and they've realized what happened. But do they go straight to Claudio and tell him, hey, good news, your girlfriend is actually a virgin after all. No, they need to teach Claudio a lesson. So they go to him and they tell him that Hero did not just pass out, she actually died of shame. And they also tell him that it was fake news. It wasn't even Hero. It was her handmaiden that was getting it on with the henchman. So Claudio is crushed and ashamed. He really feels bad. So to make up for it, he makes an offer to Don Padrone Leonardo that he will marry his niece, Beatrix. How is that going to make up for it? I don't get it. Oh, you know, I was an asshole, but I'll just be an asshole that married your niece. Anyway, they're like, yeah, okay, Claudio. Yeah, you can marry my niece. So they set up a whole new wedding. But before this, you know, the little plot goes on that they have to get Benedict and Beatrix together, because they know she's not really going to marry Claudio. It's so complicated. So this high school plot they've hatched goes on, and they have a masquerade ball surprise and the night before the wedding. And now Beatrix and Benedict are kind of both thinking they actually do like each other. So the next day at the wedding, Claudio goes up to the altar again, expecting to marry Beatrix, and he picks up the veil, and it's Hero. She's alive. Yay. Everybody's happy. Everybody except Don John, because they found him out and ran him out of town. And so, you know, to quote Shakespeare, all's well that ends well. And since everyone's happy, Beatrix and Benedict decide that they do love each other and they're going to get married. Even though they both were like staunch anti-marriage, they've decided, no, it's a good idea. We love each other. We'll get married too. It'll be a fun ride. All right. So that is my synopsis of Much Ado About Nothing. So, you guys, that is Much Ado About Nothing. Somehow I feel like I left a big giant part of it out, but that's kind of it. Anyway, I hope everyone's doing great during the pandemic as well as could be expected. I really miss you guys, and I hope to see everyone again soon. Love you. Good night.
Everybody give it up from your bedrooms, your couches, your toilet seats for Cece Dementhe. That was really great. A great start off to this show. Make sure that you tip Cece. Pay app information in the comments. But if you tip me directly, pay app information also in the comments. I am going to be matching every donation and donating it this week to Native Hope. So let's talk a little bit about this week's organization, Native Hope, and let's talk about how terrible we've been to Indigenous people for pretty much the entire time, but also kind of especially now. Native American populations have been just disproportionately affected by COVID-19, and it's our job to care about that. So that's just one thing that Native Hope does. Right now they're providing aid to Indigenous communities that have been affected by COVID-19, but they also are an advocacy group and work with tribal leaders, community-led organizations to determine just what these communities need and how best to serve them. They also believe that storytelling is a tool to inspire hope and healing and do a whole lot to preserve Native history and Native land. They're a kick-ass group doing some really hard work, so like don't sleep and get your donations in, and I will match and donate them this week to Native Hope. Let's move on, shall we? Your next presenter is a dear friend of mine. They are my partner in crime, my co-producer with Sundown Striptease Productions here in New Orleans. Look out for some stuff from us soon. I could think of no better performer to talk about a play that is so much just about love and marriage and death. This play is basically like Romeo and Juliet, but all grown up. And only all grown up in the sense that like the characters are adults, because they still act like they're 14. So bringing you their interpretation of Antony and Cleopatra, Velvet Spade.
Hello everyone, I'm Velvet Spade and I'm not wearing pants. Tonight, I am going to be telling you basically the synopsis of Antony and Cleopatra as written about by William Shakespeare. So, a little bit, to start, Mark Antony. That's like kind of the mainish character of the story. And Cleo, obviously. Mark Antony is one of the triumvirs of the Roman Republic, with Marcus Lepidus and Octavius Caesar. So the three of them rule, and then Mark Antony, like everything's going fine, Mark Antony then meets Cleopatra. And Cleopatra, she's a bad bitch. She's like badass. She takes no shits, gives no fucks. She's like, loves herself, very vain. And Mark Antony just falls head over heels for her. And so he's hanging out in Egypt with her. And then he gets word that his bros back in Rome are like pissed at him because he's been slacking on his soldierly duties or whatever. Found out his wife Fulvia rebelled against Octavius and died, and found out that all kinds of shit's going on. There's a sea of pirates. This guy named Pompey is like raising an army to fight them or whatever. And so Antony's like, well, I guess I gotta, go back to Rome now. And Cleopatra, she's like super dramatic. She's just like, no, don't leave me. And then he's like, it's okay, baby. I love you. I'll be like right back. And so he goes back, and the triumvirs meet up, and they like butt heads a little bit at first, and then they chill out, and then Octavius's general Agrippa is like, dudes, you know what would make this perfect? Hear me out, right? Antony should marry Octavius' sister, Octavia. And Antony, like, doesn't want to start shit, so he's like, yeah, sure. And then his, like, bystander is just, like, talking about Cleopatra. He's like, age cannot wither her, nor custom stale. Her infinite variety. Other women cloy the appetites they feed, but she makes hungry where most she satisfies. Like, damn, dude. Poetic. And then a soothsayer tells Antony, like, dude, you're just gonna go back to Cleopatra anyway. Like, and that he's gonna lose if he fights Octavius. And so back in Egypt, Cleo gets this messenger who's just like, Cleo, I got some bad news. Antony just got married. And then Cleo's big mad. She's like, what? That's my man. And then the messenger's like, it's okay, she's ugly. You're way cuter. She's like, well, that may be true. And then she's like, in her mind, she's like, it's okay now. Because she knows that she can win back Antony. And then the triumvir gets together with Pompey, and they're just like, look, we got this sea of pirates that we need to worry about, so how about we do peace and, like, not fight? And we just, like, well, I mean, not entire peace, because we still gotta fight these pirates, but how about we fight these pirates? And then they're like, oh, okay, sounds good. And so they make this peace treaty. And then, like, pretty much immediately after, like, they get shit hammered. They get shit faced. They drink until they can't stand. And this one dude, one of Pompey's dudes, is like, LOL, we were gonna murder you other 3 dudes. And then Pompey's like, what? No, shut up. That never happened. And that's not okay. Can't say that. And then Octavius is mad, and Octavius and Lepidus. I always forget about Lepidus because nobody seems to really care about Lepidus in this play. So they break the truce and fight with Pompey. And Antony had already, like, left. And so he finds out about this, and he's like, I didn't approve of that. We're supposed to be a triumvir, not a whatever. And so he's mad, and then he goes back to Egypt and crowns him and Cleo as rulers of Egypt and the eastern third of the Roman Republic. And he's mad at Octavius and mad at Lepidus, and I guess Octavius is mad at Lepidus too and kicks him out of the triumvirate. And then Antony's like, you know what? I'm gonna fight Octavius, even though somebody told him not to. And this dude named Enobarbus is like, I suggest fighting on land and not sea. And then Antony's like, nah. Dude said let's fight at sea, so we're gonna fight at sea. Like, walking into a, like, obvious trap, but okay. And then Cleopatra is like, well, I got like 60 ships or something. I'll send those to help you out. So then they go, they're fighting, and then Cleopatra dips out. She's like, yeah, I'm not feeling this. And Antony also leaves and follows her, and, like, leaves the rest of his own forces to just, like, die or whatever. And so then he feels shitty about that. And then, like, he tries to blame it on Cleo at first, and then he, like, I guess puts that aside, and it's just like, tells her, like, give me a kiss, even this repays me. And, like, so that makes up for it, and they're all good. And then Octavius sends a messenger to Cleopatra, and saying, like, hey, if you give up your man, join my side, I'll let you, like, keep your kingdoms and pass it on for generations or whatever, like you wanted. And she's like, And then she starts flirting with the messenger. Antony walks in and is like, what the fuck, you betrayed me again. And she's like, no, I didn't, baby. And then he's like, oh, okay. And then they go back to fight again, but on land this time. And then the dude that originally told him that he should fight on land left his team and went to Octavius' side. And then Cleopatra dies. Enobarbus dies. And Cleopatra dips out of the battle again. And so Antony loses, and then he's real mad, and he blames it on Cleo, and he says he's going to kill her. And then she finds out that he wants to kill her, and she's just like, well, fuck that. Like, and she hides and locks herself in a room and sends a message to him saying that she killed herself dying with his name on her lips. And she just like waits for him there. And then when he finds out about it, like, instead of like him like rushing to her in remorse, he's like way more upset than what she even thought. And then he tries to kill himself. And it kinda sort of fails, but also succeeds because like he mortally wounds himself. So he's just like bleeding out. He's just like gushing blood. And but he lives long enough to make it back to Cleo's side, where he dies in her arms. And then since they had been defeated, the like Roman soldiers like come take her away, like and then she's like really trying to kill herself, but they snatch her up before she can. And then she gets one of her like maids or something to sneak in a basket of asps, which is like cobras, I guess. And so then she sticks her hand in the basket and gets bit and dies. And a bunch of other people die, as is typical in Shakespeare plays. And then Octavius finds all the bodies, and he's like feeling some kind of way because he's like, oh, that was my bro that died. But also, like, now I'm the first Roman emperor, so that's cool. So then he gives them like a public like military funeral and like buries them together. And that's that.
It's burlesque. Give it up for Velvet Spade, everybody. That was amazing. You can tip Velvet Spade, pay app information in the comments. But also, again, don't forget, if you tip me directly, I'm gonna match and donate everything this week to Native Hope. Well, I hope you guys are in it for the long haul, because this next story is a long one. It's a play that I feel like not a lot of people talk about when they talk about Shakespeare, but this next presenter is gonna talk about it. I think I'm just gonna let this last presenter do their thing. Bringing you their very, very sloshed interpretation of Henry VIII, that dude that would not stop killing and marrying his wives. He'd marry one, then kill her, and then marry another one and kill that one too. This next presenter is part of the Hummingbirds, which is a local barbershop quartet here in New Orleans. Here he is right now bringing you Henry VIII, Pete Addicks.
Hello, and welcome to episode 6 of Wasted with Will. I'm Pete Addicks, and I'm here to take you through Henry VIII. Now, first thing I gotta do is run you through the rules. Rule 1, Cardinal Wolsey is a jerk. He's a freaking jerk. Anytime I say Rule 1, it means Cardinal Wolsey is a jerk. I'm gonna drink every time I say Rule 1. You can drink or not drink, whatever you like on the home game. Rule 2, Queen Catherine is a saint. She's extraordinarily tolerant. She's not good, she's just written that way. But, a little bit of history, something to bring you up to date. Shakespeare lived and wrote between the lives of Elizabeth I and James I, between those two monarchs. This play was written during the reign of James I. So, just a little bit of background. Elizabeth I was the last of the Tudor line. James I was the first of the Stuart line. And, let's see, Mary Queen of Scots abdicated the throne when James I was 13 months old. She's just like, all right, I'm cool. You can have it. You're 13 months old. We're done. And, but it was the throne of Scotland. So in 1603, Elizabeth I died. James I was not 13 months old anymore, and he inherited England and Ireland. So he was the king of England, Ireland, and Scotland in 1603. At least he was born a monarch. I mean, that's a lot. Hey, I inherited a little bit of land. Hey, I inherited a little bit of money. Hey, I inherited England. Fucking country. Anyway, neither here nor there. Other things for the background. Henry wouldn't stop messing with France. He just wouldn't. He almost bankrupted England because he kept going to war in France. He never won. It's still France. England's still England. They don't like each other. We've got 3 drinks tonight. We got the Cardinal 1, the Cardinal 2, and the Bishop. If you can't tell, I've tried them all, and I like the Cardinals better than the Bishops. Our mantra tonight is divorced, beheaded, died. Divorced, beheaded, survived. Thing is, this story only deals with divorced. No, that's it, just divorced. He didn't even behead and the limb by the end of the story, but we'll get there. So the prologue. This is a serious play. This isn't like, Twelfth Night, Midsummer Night's Dream. No, this is actually a serious play. These people existed. These people died. These people lived. These people are real, and they did real things, and it wasn't a funny play. It wasn't. It was like, no, it was kind of crappy, to be quite honest. A lot of the characters are garbage. There's like one redeeming person, and that's Queen Catherine. And the baby, I mean, don't get me wrong, but she doesn't have much by way of lines. So, luckily I'm here. I'll lend you some levity. So, Act 1, Scene 1. The Duke of Buckingham and some other folks are chatting. They're governating around, and they say, hey, that guy, Cardinal Wolsey, he's prideful. Buckingham and his buddy are like, he's prideful. And Cardinal Wolsey walks in and says, hey, Buckingham, me boy, how you doing? And Buckingham's like, I think you're prideful. And Wolsey's like, that's nice, you go to the Tower. And the Tower of London. And that's it. That's Act 1, Scene 1. But I do have to introduce you to the Cardinal. The first Cardinal. Cardinal 1. Shot and a half of rum. Half a shot of Luxardo. Quarter shot of triple sec. And a splash of grenadine for color. Actually, this lends more flavor than I care to mention. I was really surprised last time I tried this one. Stir, shake, do whatever you want. If you're at home. So, Act 1, Scene 2, Catherine's like, Henry, people are all sorts of mad because of all these new taxes you've levied. And Henry says, what new taxes? And Catherine says, well, you know your buddy Woolsey? Ask him. Woolsey comes in, he's like, yeah, we gotta pay for all this war in France, so I made up some new taxes. Hope you don't mind. And Catherine's like, yeah, this might not be your fault, Henry, but it's definitely your problem. Go handle your business. At this point, Henry starts feeling bad about Buckingham. He's like, oh, I gotta change the subject. Let me go over to Buckingham. I feel really rough about him being incarcerated. So he's like, hey, I got an idea. I'm gonna ask Buckingham's former employee what Buckingham was like. And the former employee is a former employee. He's like, that was an asshole. He fired me. He wanted to kill you and take your crown. That's how I screw over this guy. And Henry doesn't feel bad anymore about imprisoning Buckingham. Next scene, two folks are jabbering about how French clothing is lame. By the way, I'm wearing French cuffs and French sleeves. On the bright side, these aren't French suspenders. They're probably Chinese. But they specifically say we should outlaw French clothes. And that's ridiculous because that would be like outlawing pants sag or outlawing the ascot or outlawing bell bottoms. You don't do that because they're going to come back in style. At this point, Wolsey throws a party and Henry crashes it, but he's dressed like a shepherd and nobody knows why, but he's dressed like a shepherd and then he meets Anne Boleyn and all he can think about is Charles Bronson in The Great Escape. He wants to dig some tunnels. They snog, exclusively snog. They don't do anything other than snog, and then he bounces. But he doesn't forget her. Act 2, Scene 1. Buckingham's condemned to death as a traitor, but during his terminal speech, he's like, oh, I'm so lucky, man. I'm really lucky. Because my pops, he was straight up murdered by Richard III. I at least had a trial, and that's way better. So, frankly, those tutors, nothing about the sanctity of human life. So it's just like, all right, we're going to kill everybody. Screw them. The scuttlebutt arises that Queen Catherine is going to get divorced if the Pope will let him. And it's Wolsey whispering into Henry's ear, Henry VIII's ear, because Cardinal Wolsey's a jerk. Because, get this, Catherine's dad is the King of Spain. Catherine's dad is also the Holy Roman Emperor. Cardinal Wolsey is part of the clergy. So, Cardinal Wolsey got a crappy assignment from the Holy Roman Emperor ages back, and he wants revenge. And he's just like, cut all ties with the Holy Roman Emperor. I want Henry to marry the sister of the King of France. Maybe it'll save us some money. Maybe we'll stop going to wars. It'll be great. So, to top all of this off, sister of the French King, costly wars. Some other cardinal comes by, is like, yeah, that's the ticket. That's the stuff. Like, it's for a narrative purpose. It's an aspect of verification. But it's another cardinal. And this is the Cardinal 2. And the Cardinal 2 is like a Kir Royale. Well, it's actually supposed to be a Kir, but I do not have Crème de Cassis. I have Chambord. And I have red wine. So you put red wine and Chambord together, and you get a Cardinal Royale. I hope I still have enough red wine. Dear Lord, I'm almost out. Alright, also remember, rule 1. That's a thing. Because so far, the morals of the story are be good to your employees, or they'll screw you over when they get a chance. Because remember Buckingham's employee? Yeah, that was a thing. Buckingham just got him beheaded. Also, rule 1, Wolsey is a jerk. He's a jerk. He's a jerk. Did I mention jerk? Because he's a jerk. Alright, Wolsey does his jerk thing and takes 2 horses from one of the lords on the council. The Council of Lords, pardon me. That's kind of a thing. The Council of Lords is important, and they come into play, but it's only after they only come into play after Wolsey is dead. So forget it. We can talk about it later. He does this because he's the tax man. That's a thing. Henry's sending letters to the Pope to get an annulment after 20 years of marriage, which isn't easy. But Wolsey's like, yeah, Henry, it could work. Give it a shot. He might say yes. And Wolsey's just trying to break from the Holy Roman Emperor, King of Spain. He really just wants the divorce so he can marry the French king's sister. Henry goes to the trial separation of the divorce from Catherine and is waiting on word from the Pope. Next scene, Anne Boleyn, I don't want to be queen. Henry's like, hey, I got some things for you, baby. I've got this new title for you, and I've got this new raise for you. You're gonna get more money a year. And I got some icy bling, yo. I got some icy bling. Gonna make it happen, y'all. I got that. Nah, I give up. I don't even try. Fuck it. So fact is, you get a horse, you get a horse, you get a horse, you get a horse. Henry VIII's just throwing all this stuff at Anne Boleyn to change her mind, and she's like, I'll roll with it. Sure. So Henry starts thinking, like, all right, how the heck do I get out of this marriage? Maybe my marriage to Anne Boleyn, pardon me, to Catherine, my bad, to Queen Catherine was unlawful in the eyes of God, and that's why all of our surviving children are female. Now, what I hear when somebody says that is, I hear Y-linked inheritable genetic defect. But this is in the days before Mendel, and Mendel was like the 1800s, this is the 1600s, 1500s. This is actually the 1500s. And no, they don't even understand about the concept of the Y chromosome. There's no, like, there's male and there's female, but everybody's still, like, wrapped up in humors. So, history of medicine out the window. Also, Henry can't stop thinking about getting into Anne Boleyn's bodice. Catherine doesn't want a divorce. The Pope says, no, you can't get a divorce. Catherine thinks Wolsey is a jerk and tells him so, and then Henry, after she does that, starts believing in Rule 1. That's really good. This is terrible wine, and it's really good. You just add Chambord, it's just that much better. All right, next scene. Catherine's really upset about the divorce. She's just like, oh gosh, I don't, because, you know, she doesn't want the divorce. She's been married to the king for 20 years, and she's not from there. She's from Spain, and she's worried, she's scared, she doesn't want a divorce. And so what does Wolsey do? He's like, hey, I'm gonna go comfort the queen, the dowager queen. So he goes over to Catherine's house, and Catherine's like, why the fuck are you here? Get out of my house. Get away from me. Get away from everything that I am. I don't want to deal with you. Bye-bye. Next scene. Busted! Wolsey gets busted, but he's not busted for hooking him with Catherine, because that's just dumb. He's busted because he got caught with his hand in the till and fibbing. So what happened was Wolsey is sending letters to the Pope saying, hey, I've got some money here. How about you take my money and you tell King Henry VIII that he can't get a divorce? And he's talking to Henry VIII and saying, hey, you should ask the Pope for a divorce. He'll probably say, yeah, it'll be great. It'll work out wonderful. And so he's got him going back and forth. What he's actually saying to the Pope is, this guy's got a crush on Anne Boleyn. I don't want him to marry Anne Boleyn. I want him to marry the French king's sister. Everything's sideways. I give up. There we go. So It doesn't work. He gets caught with his hand in the tail. Oh, yeah, the hand in the tail. Henry just is like, hey, I've got this whole book of you making money off the taxes. You're pocketing this dough. You're not giving it to me. That's not okay. I have these wars in France that I got to pay for. So remember, rule 1, don't be a jerk. While this is happening, Henry just marries Anne Boleyn, and Wolsey has to give up all his nice things, because jerks don't get to have nice things. Don't be a jerk. Do your job. The Archbishop of Canterbury, which is totally, that's a reference to Canterbury Tales, also another drink. So we're going to start off with squeezing lime. Oh, yes. And I know I don't like this drink. I know. It's really bad. I recommend sticking to the Cardinals. Do not drink the Archbishop. If you have a nasty case of self-loathing, drink a lot of these. However, it's kind of like people who drink peaty scotch. Sorry, Bremner. It's not something you do if you are happy. It's something you do if you're, to put it nicely, maudlin. Simple. And a little bit of red wine. It's supposed to have half a shot of red wine. This is a terrible drink, but the color is right. Alright, so the Archbishop of Canterbury, his name is Cranmer, and the king likes him. King really likes him. They've been friends the whole time. We just didn't talk about it because, well, he wasn't important until now. He was off somewhere, probably France, and he's the one that did the service to coronate Anne Boleyn as queen. Wolsey died in prison because he's jerked. Catherine forgives Wolsey because rule 2, and she has a vision and thinks she's going to die. I don't know why she thinks she's going to die, because everybody right now is doing hallucinations, so DMT does not kill you, it just gives you a really strong vision. Next scene, Anne Boleyn gives birth to Elizabeth I, who is the virgin queen, and she had no progeny, thus ended the line of the Tudors. The Council of Lords denounced Cranmer as a heretic, and he has to testify before the council, but they're doing some shifty shit, because he's member of the council, so he has to be left outside, but we'll get into it. Henry gets wind of this, and he's like, hey, Cranmer, hey, buddy, hey, I got this, this is my Captain Midnight secret decoder ring, so if those swine give you any guff, just take it off and just be like, yo, I got this thing, yo. And they'll be like, oh, no, he actually has the consent of the king. And so he goes in. Well, he goes in. By the way, it says Ovaltine. The Captain Midnight secret decoder ring that he got out of a can of Ovaltine. Yes. And King Henry will be like, yo, I'll come in like Dick Tracy. It'll be awesome. The midwife comes to Henry because Elizabeth has been born, and Henry's like, it's a boy! And the midwife's like, sure, it's a boy. I'm going to fuck off to France and go that way, because eventually you're going to find out that it's a girl, and her name's Elizabeth. But she turns into a rad tween. Like, Elizabeth was a badass. Anyway, Cranmer's a member of the council. Council technically can't meet without him there, so he can't really be tried for anything because he's a member of the council. So they're like, hey, Cranmer, hang out outside. And while he's outside, they're like, all right, we're going to try him for heresy. And they're like, the council's like, yeah, we're going to try him for heresy. Cranmer, coming in, we're going to try you for heresy. And Cranmer's like, I'm a member of the council. It doesn't really work. And they're like, oh, no, we're going to arrest you and put you in the tower and bust you down to regular people status. And then we're going to try you for heresy because then you can get a fair trial. And Kramer's like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. Oh wait, I got my Captain Midnight super secret Dakota ring. And it says Ovaltine right there. You know where I got this? Henry gave it to me. It was cool. Like, it was a little like... And they're like, oh God, I screwed up. I screwed over the king. And at this point, Henry comes in like Dick Tracy and says, hey boys, you done fucked up. Now, I need everybody to hug and be friends, because Kramer's my boy. And the lords and the dukes and all those people with titles are like, yeah, sure, I'll give him a hug. Speed it up. Henry's sick of this. He's like, all right, you know what? Fuck all of y'all. Kramer, you are going to do the baptism on my baby girl. Her name's Elizabeth. Next scene, everybody and their uncle show up to the baptism. That is Kramer. I'll try this again. Hopefully it'll be better. It is. You need to increase. It's more than half a. It's a half a shot, not a quarter shot of simple syrup. It's not good. It's just better. A decent red, probably a Pinot Noir, would be better than what I've got, which is a Zin. This is a dark Zin. People show up to the baptism that Kramer is showing. Kramer gives a speech about how awesome Queen Elizabeth is going to be. At this point, like, Queen Elizabeth has been dead for 10 years. James has been running the country for 10 years. How awesome Queen Elizabeth is going to be. And then she's so cool that it's going to trickle down to the next guy, which is James, which is the current monarch. So it's Shakespeare's way of kissing ass. And finally, the most important part, the epilogue. Got to be taken straight from the play. For this play at this time is only in the merciful construction of good women. For such a one we'd show 'em if they smile. And say 'twill do, I know within a while, all the best men are ours, for 'tis ill hap, if they hold when their ladies bid 'em clap. Which means, basically, I'm going to read this because I didn't memorize it. Gals, if you think Catherine was a goddamn saint for not suffocating Henry with a pillow, stabbing him in the throat while he slept, please clap, because she's a goddamn saint. And there are like two characters with redeeming qualities in this play, and that's Catherine, who forgives Wolsey, and that's the baby, who's a goddamn baby. Everybody else kind of sucks, because the audience knows, but you don't, because it's 400 years ago. Kramer gets beheaded for not heresy, for treason, shortly after he baptizes the Queen Elizabeth. And, oh, by the way, girls, if you clap, nudge your fellow, because only good men clap when the girls clap. That's Wasted with Will. I'm Pete Addicks. Catch you soon.
Thank you, Pete Addicks. Make sure you tip Pete in the comments. And also, don't forget, you still have time to tip me, and then I will match all of your donations to Native Hope this week. That's our show, everybody. Wow. We made it 6 episodes in, and we still have plenty more to go. Don't worry. Shakespeare was a prolific dude, and it is our duty to present you his complete works while being as drunk as we possibly can be. Next week is going to be kind of an interesting one. The theme next week is gender wars. So we're going to be bringing you a lot of plays that are about war, but also kind of about gender. Psst. deconstruct. Anyway, it's been real. Thank you for tuning in this week to Wasted with Will. We are here every Sunday, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live. Catch us next week, y'all. Love you.